The constant pursuit of wisdom is the less traveled road, but the most rewarding one in our lives. Some things are like seeds. We plant them in silence away from curious eyes, so they can grow and flourish without interference. This is where the wisdom of the Stoics comes in. They teach us to guard and cultivate within ourselves, without the hurry to show it to the world. The Stoics, great thinkers in history, knew that not everything should be shared. They valued their secrets, their achievements, and their lessons because they understood that by revealing too much of the true essence of things, it might be lost to them. Every joy and sadness, every lesson and challenge, are pieces of the story we compose. If we share everything without thinking, perhaps we stop living deeply because, just like a flower doesn't grow if it's constantly touched, our growth also needs privacy. A space of our own where we look at our mistakes and victories and decide how we want to move forward in the best way. So, when we don't share something, it's not to hide but to protect. True growth comes from the balance between what we show and what we keep just for ourselves. In a world that loves to display everything, it can sometimes be challenging to recognize and appreciate what's behind our accomplishments. In this video, we will discuss 11 subjects that we recommend you keep to yourself. All of them are important, so stay tuned until the end of the video to find out why. 1. Don't talk about your achievements. Imagine diving into the dark and deep waters of your own soul. For the Stoics, the pursuit of wisdom and virtue resembled this profound journey. They believed that true fulfillment wasn't in displaying external triumphs, but in introspection and continuous evolution. Every challenge, every struggle was fought not in public arenas, but in the silent landscapes of the spirit. By discussing their victories, they offered us a deep reflection. Ego and vanity, when nurtured, can become barriers that stand between us and true virtue. Their obsession with external recognition, they said, ties us to chains of pride, trapping us in the empty pursuit of fleeting applause, and that is a path filled with disappointment. However, here's a precious teaching from the Stoics. True achievement isn't the one stop to be admired, but the one that silently transforms the community, nurturing noble values like justice, compassion, and wisdom. Wealth for these ancient sages wasn't accumulated in vaults, but in the depths of a balanced and serene soul. Instead of celebrating triumphs or withering in defeat, they embraced a quiet acceptance of all the whims of life. They invited us to recognize that the dance of existence is orchestrated by melodies often beyond our control. In this remarkable silence, we find a deliberate choice, a commitment to genuine greatness. They believed that true majesty lay in living with integrity, dedicating oneself to the collective. They left us with a legacy that humility, sincerity, and the ceaseless pursuit of wisdom were the true pillars of a life worth living. 2. Don't talk about challenges not overcome. In the Stoic path to wisdom and virtue, every step was filled with meaning. The deviations and stumbling blocks weren't mere obstacles. They carved the soul, shaped character, and taught about the true nature of grandeur. It wasn't the visible triumph that counted, but the internal battles, often invisible, that determined a person's inner strength. But if these struggles held so much value, why did the Stoics advise not to speak about challenges not overcome? The answer lies in their astute perception of human nature. They believed that ego and pride could cloud our vision, making us blind to true virtue. The relentless pursuit of external recognition and praise could indeed be a veil that hides our true potential. The Stoics didn't value achievements that could be easily displayed as trophies. They sought true glory in acts that elevated humanity, acts rooted in values like justice, generosity, and wisdom. Real wealth for them wasn't in the shine of gold, but in the radiance of a morally upright character and a tranquil soul. The philosophy of loving fate was fundamental to this understanding. The Stoics didn't despair in the face of adversity. Instead, they balanced the taste of victory and defeat with equanimity, aware that the tapestry of life is woven with threads of circumstances often beyond our control. 3. Don't talk about your good deeds. Imagine a candle that silently lights up a dark room. Its light is gentle, unobtrusive, but it warms and illuminates everything around it. Kindness for the Stoics was much like this flame. They believed that true generosity didn't need to be proclaimed in public squares or shouted from the mountaintops. It should, in its essence, be a genuine and subtle gesture, done out of the simple desire to do good without expecting praise in return. Why might this perspective seem strange in today's self-promotion culture? For a profound reason, as the Stoics recognized the danger of turning kindness into a spectacle. After all, if we brag about every altruistic act, we might inadvertently seek the fleeting warmth of applause. Keeping our good deeds in the cloak of anonymity provides us with a sacred moment of reflection and pause, a moment of intimate connection with ourselves where we can question whether our actions were genuine or motivated by other interests. This secret self-analysis becomes a catalyst for personal improvement. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lay the belief that true kindness doesn't seek the spotlight. It manifests in acts of compassion, quiet and authentic. This timeless wisdom envelopes us with its essence and reminds us of a fundamental truth. Often the greatest act of kindness is the one offered without expecting anything in return. 4. Don't talk about your resentment. Have you ever felt trapped in a web of emotions where each thread is a bitter memory, a grudge that refuses to fade? The timeless wisdom of Stoicism invites us to reflect deeply on the invisible weight of resentment. To these ancient philosophers, harboring resentment was like an anchor that prevented the spirit from sailing freely through the seas of life. But what if we could choose a less trodden path, where forgiveness and understanding were our faithful companions? Behind this historical perspective, we find an unwavering focus on virtue and self-control. Ask yourself, have you ever carried a burden on your back for a long time? Have you felt the weariness, exhaustion, and resentment? This burden is an invisible chain that binds us, limiting our freedom and inner peace. It's fascinating to realize that often, resentment springs from misunderstanding and can imprison us in a cycle of bitterness. The Stoics encouraged us to seek the origins of others' actions, to understand before we judge. Forgiveness, then, is not just an altruistic gesture, but an act of profound wisdom that unravels the mysteries of the human soul and frees us from the chains of negativity. Because anger and resentment are poisons, flames that, when fed, consume our tranquility and well-being. On the other hand, by choosing the path of forgiveness and understanding, we find an oasis of serenity and peace. Thus, guided by Stoic wisdom, we are reminded of a universal truth: forgiveness is the key to our own freedom. It is a beacon that guides us through emotional storms and offers us refuge in the harbor of serenity. By embracing this lesson, we discover that at times, the greatest strength lies in letting go, in freeing ourselves from the chains of the past, and sailing toward a horizon of understanding and peace. 5. Don't talk about your deepest dream. Imagine for a moment a rare and delicate seed in the palm of your hand. It represents your most intimate dreams, your most fervent aspirations. How would you protect it from harsh wind and storms that could prevent it from sprouting? The Stoics, with their profound wisdom, provide an answer. They saw our goals and dreams as these precious seeds, destined to be planted in the fertile depths of our souls, far from the storms of others' opinions and criticisms. After all, who hasn't felt the flame of a dream extinguish prematurely when exposed to the cold of skepticism or the heat of ridicule? Within Stoic philosophy, self-sufficiency is celebrated as an invaluable gem. True wisdom, true accomplishment is not a chalice to be displayed, but an internal well from which one can always draw. It makes no sense to seek fleeting external approval when we can find richness and purpose in the recesses of our own minds. Perhaps the quietest and yet most eloquent of virtues, the Stoics recognize the subtlety of the line that separates healthy ambition from arrogance. Choosing silence about our grand goals was not an act of shyness, but a deliberate choice to walk with humility, avoiding the pride that sometimes blinds. In the end, the Stoic legacy speaks to the heart. There's no need to shout our dreams from mountaintops. Instead, protect them, cultivate them, and watch them flourish in their silent and majestic glory. This safeguard is an invitation to rediscover the strength that resides within us and to recognize that, at times, the most precious treasures are those we keep just for ourselves. 6. Don't talk about your next steps. Imagine a chess master moving their pieces silently as their opponents attempt to decipher their next moves. This is the path of the Stoics. They understood that by revealing every move in their lives, they could be subject to the whimsical winds of external judgment, often laden with criticism, envy, and even malicious intentions. At the heart of Stoic philosophy lies the virtue of self-sufficiency. Why depend on the fleeting applause of an audience when true strength resides in the inner theater of the mind? By keeping their life strategies to themselves, the Stoics were not simply concealing their plans, but strengthening their inner core of confidence, independent of the tides of opinion that flow around them. This leads us to humility, a subtle yet profound quality that the Stoics fervently upheld. Revealing grand strategies could easily be interpreted as a cry of arrogance, a triumphant announcement of superiority. By choosing discretion, they struck a balance between ambition and humility, ensuring that their steps were steady but not presumptuous. In the end, the legacy of the Stoics whispers to us that the best strategies are not those announced, but those cultivated with diligence and patience in the silence of our own thoughts. Through this perspective, they remind us of a fundamental truth. To protect our plans is to safeguard our inner peace, to keep intact the compass that guides us through the labyrinth of life, always true to our deepest aspirations. 7. Don't talk about your love life. Imagine a garden, vibrant and flourishing, where each flower represents a moment of intimacy and connection. This garden, precious and delicate, deserves to be protected from prying eyes and harsh winds. The Stoics, in their profound wisdom, understood that by keeping their most intimate relationships private, they nurtured an atmosphere of tranquility and respect. They believed that the sacred realm of love should be shielded from the judgment and opinions of the outside world. The Stoics celebrated a balanced life, where harmony and peace were paramount. By sharing intimate details, we open the door to potential misunderstandings and unsolicited advice, which could disrupt the delicate equilibrium of our personal relationships. Keeping this aspect of our lives private fosters a space where love can grow undisturbed, rooted in mutual understanding and respect. This wisdom isn't about secrecy, but about creating a sanctuary for genuine connection. Love, in its truest form, flourishes in an environment where it can be itself, free from external pressures and expectations. By embracing this Stoic principle, we can cultivate deeper, more meaningful relationships that stand the test of time, nourished by the quiet strength of privacy and mutual respect. 8. Don't talk about your financial status. Imagine a fortress, strong and resilient, protecting its treasures from external threats. The Stoics, with their profound understanding of human nature, recognized the wisdom in safeguarding the details of one's financial status. By keeping this information private, they shielded themselves from envy, judgment, and the shifting sands of social opinion. The Stoics valued inner wealth, qualities like wisdom, integrity, and virtue, over external riches. They understood that true contentment and fulfillment come from within, not from the accumulation of material wealth. By not discussing their financial status, they focused on cultivating a life of purpose and meaning, free from the distractions and pressures of societal expectations. This approach also reflects